Welcome to the Ruden Report podcast. I'm Dave Ruden, and we're getting ready for a good show here today. And we're not going to be all football. We're going to do a couple of spots, and it's time to talk. I was on the soccer beat. I covered no football this past week, but I covered semifinal and final boys and girls soccer. And as a former soccer player and thus a soccer fan, I have to say it was one of the most enjoyable weeks as a sports writer I've had covering soccer. And joining me a little later will be Sil Vitiello and the captains of the Trumbull boys soccer team, which won a wild 3-2 game in the FCIAC championship against Stanford to go back to back. But we have to have football on the Ruden Report podcast. And joining me, as always, is Sean Ireland. Sean, how you doing?
Good, Dave. How are you? Funny story about the championship game. One of my closest friends lives maybe a quarter mile away, and he sends a text. He's like, something huge just happened in Rock High. I hear cheering. So I go right to Twitter. I checked. It was when Stanford tied the game. I saw your video clip, and I sent to him, like, Stanford just tied the game with 90 seconds to win it. And that atmosphere, I would put up with any atmosphere that I've been around in high school sports.
That was one of the best in terms of atmosphere, in terms of especially the last 30 minutes. That was a classic game. Stanford brought one of the largest crowds I've ever seen from a student fan base to a soccer final. And Trumbull always brings a lot of people. Stanford had even more. And it was those stands, those bleachers they weren't packed, but it was close to full, which is something. And the game started the first 50 minutes was kind of a chess match. And then, 9 minutes to go, Trumbull scores, a minute and 20 to go, Stanford equalizes. And then Trumbull scores a couple of goals, and you think, okay, 3-1, they finally did it. And then Stanford comes back again. They're like Betsy Palmer in Friday the 13th. You finally had to chop it off to stop the pursuit. But it was a good final, and I love soccer, so it worked out well in terms of if there was going to be a week where there weren't any must-see games. This was a good week for it, and as we look over, there weren't a lot of must-see results. The game that probably interested us the most from a who's going to get into the playoff standpoint was Wilton McMahon, and I expected the game to be a little closer than it was, but I'm not shocked that Wilton came away with a 31-6 victory. That pretty much ends it for Brian McMahon. Trumbull's lost to Staples. That takes care of Trumbull. And Stanford beating Ridgefield. We look like, boy, is Double L really weak this year. But it's Greenwich is 1, Staples is 3, and Stanford is 7. I think Stanford could get in with a split, but they could easily win out with Danbury and West Hill. And the Greenwich Staples game is going to come down to for seeding and could even be a preview of the championship, because right now Greenwich, Staples, West Haven, one of those three teams is going to be the Class Double-L champion. I don't see anybody else getting in there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Not that anybody's overlooking anybody. You got to get to that Staples Greenwich game first, because Staples, I think, has a tough game this week. But yeah, I think it's a runaway with those three teams between Greenwich, West Haven, and Staples. It would be good if Stanford keeps it close. If it stays status quo and Stanford goes to West Haven, maybe give them a little jolt. But I think it's a three-headed race in the Double L right now.
Yeah, I mean, Stanford was competitive with Greenwich for a while, but it's just Stanford's is gonna have a tough. Stanford really needs to do is to get into the 6th spot. Stanford needs to get into a 3-6 or a 4-5 game, and I mean that would be number one. It's going to be a great story if they get in. And number two, then playing with house money if they could win a game. I'm gonna have to go to the research and find out the last time Stanford. I haven't had time to look when Stanford was last in the state playoffs, but
Yeah, I'm not positive. I'm going to say 1995.
I
I
think I
don't.
remember at the Advocate early on. I remember them being in the state. You know,
Yeah,
that's you're within the realm of what I would guess.
yeah. The only reason why that was my senior year playing, and I remember they were very good. That's back when I think maybe only 2 or 4 teams made it, and I'm almost positive they either made it or just missed one of the two.
I think Stanford made it once while I was at the Advocate, and I
Yeah.
started there. I started there, I think, in '93. So,
Okay.
but
Yeah, I would like to see Stanford just avoid an FCIAC team.
yeah,
Whether
and that's the other reason, not
yeah,
just in terms of who's winning. It's not. It doesn't seem like a state playoff if you have to play a league team.
right. Right. So
Uh,
if they get that 7 seed and Staples bumps up to 2, I would hate to see a Stanford Staples. Let them play. West Haven just to see what happens.
absolutely. West Haven already played Staples, beat Staples opening game of the season.
Yeah.
Staples lost. So, the way I look at it, I think Greenwich is on its own plane. New Canaan and Staples on their own plane, not too far behind. And then you got probably Darien, Wilton. Maybe Darien and Wilton are on their own plane. And then you got like Ludlow and Stanford and
I would. Dave called me crazy. I would put Wilton on that second plane. They lost to New Canaan in overtime, and they had the lead
yeah,
against.
yeah, yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. I stand corrected on that. And it's going to be, and we can bounce around. I mean, really, there's not a lot to talk about in games coming up, but the biggest game is going to be Ludlow and Wilton. It seems like it seems like these two teams for the last month have been the running under the
Yeah.
spotlight, stay alive the survival game. And this is a huge game. Wilton's third right now in double L, and I'm sorry, in double M, and Ludlow's 11th in L, and Ludlow's got the fewest bonus points. They've got a lot of wins, but they haven't beaten. They beat mostly
Right.
teams with losing records. So
Yeah. Yeah,
this
that's
would,
unfortunate because that win early on against Hamden, everybody really was going, rightfully so. But Hamden has kind of taken 2, 3 steps back.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, the win doesn't look quite as good as it did at the time.
right.
Uh, it'll be a good game. I see this. Wilton's going to cause Ludlow trouble on the line of scrimmage again. I kind of see this being like a 34-14, 34-21 game. Ludlow's is gonna, because of the creativeness of their offense, will score a little bit. But I just think Wilton's going to wear them down on the line of scrimmage, and that's where Ludlow has problems. And how will Wilton's pass rush be? How effective against Ludlow?
Yeah, if Wilt could sustain a pass rush without blitzing, Ludlow is going to be in trouble. Wilton has been able to do that in a couple games this year, where they just rushed their front, and dropped everybody into coverage, which is a huge benefit to have. I think it's the polar opposite of teams. I think Wilton is big and physical, and I think Ludlow is more athletic. Wilton has athletes on their team, but overall, I think Ludlow is more athletic. So I think Wilton is going to wear them down eventually, and I think they are going to come away with the win. Especially, playing at Vucitani Field, that's not fun. That place is going to be filled. Their alumni will be there. They're gonna be getting after it. So I think it's going to be a good atmosphere up there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Wilton's always a good atmosphere. They have one of the best student fan bases. So yeah, and Ludlow really needs this win because they've got the fewest bonus points
Yeah, if they lose this,
Again,
I
because
think
of
they're
strength of schedule, they need to beat a good team. This is the kind, if they can't beat Wilton, then they don't deserve to
yeah,
they deserve to be. And I mean, they've been such a great story. To me, Stanford Ludlow, that's as good a story as we've had in what's been, again, just a football season with few surprises. They've been real pleasant surprises. So yeah, it seems like we talk about them each week. And then the other game, a big game from the outside looking in, is going to be Staples and St. Joseph. St. Joseph is sitting at ninth in Class M right now, and that's another tough, really tough division, and they need a little bit of help. And I think beating Staples probably gets them in. They play Trumbull after that. If Trumble's healthy, and Trumbull has not been healthy, then that's a really good game.
yeah. I
Oh,
I think St. Joe's has to win both to get in.
they
I
may.
think, yeah, yeah.
That's a really, really tough division this year.
Right. Yeah. And you can't win both if you don't win the next one. And I think the next one is the toughest one, the tougher out of the two. They got their hands full, but like as I've been saying all year and saying my whole career, St. Joe's is always a very well prepared football team. Coach Dell will have his guys ready. It's just going to come down to who's going to make the plays.
Staples and St. Joe's have played a lot of really good late season games over the past 5 to 10 years. I have to go back and kind of look it over, but a whole bunch of games that were decided by field goals and had huge implications to them. This is another one. Can St. Joe score enough, and how will their defense do? The defense is the strength of their team, and offense is the strength of Staples.
Yeah. Listen, I think we've been saying this for weeks now. I think Staples has the best player in the league. I also think their defense is underrated. I think their defense is very, very strong. I think their secondary is very strong. They fly to the ball. When that ball's in the air, they think the ball is theirs, and that's how you should play on defense. So I think, as much as I like St. Joe's, I think Staples wins this one. Tight game in the first half. Maybe Staples starts to pull away in the second half.
Yeah, I probably agree with you on that. And that's it's going to be another tough spot for the freshman quarterback,
Yeah,
who's getting better and better each week. We'll see how he does playing under the lights in Westport on a Friday night,
that's
where
another place that's not fun to play.
where now they have the sound system at decibel breaking levels for to make it uncomfortable for the fans there, and make it
Yeah,
so the other team can't hear anything. But
they do other things there too, Dave. That's Staples comes out of the locker room. They can go right down the stairs, right to their side of the field. The visitor teams, we got to go to the baseball field, down the stairs in the dark. And then you would think they would give us that side of the field to warm up. No, now we got to go all the way to the scoreboard side, and now we got to go back around to the baseball field, and all they got to do is come up and hey, listen, home field advantage. Do what you need to do, but Staples has home field advantage for sure, between the crowd, between the noise, between the setup. It's going to be tough for St. Joe's to go in there and pull out a win.
I gotta say, and everybody tries to get their advantages, but that sound system is so loud and it's right over the fans, and it's really not fair to. I wonder, if there were enough complaints made by opposing fans. I wonder if something would be done to look into it, because I mean, to be quite honest, it's almost a health hazard, because it's so loud. So
Yeah.
a lot of people say, I'd rather watch the stream of the game and
Yeah.
not go deaf. And I'm sure people in Staples don't mind that kind of mindset, but
Yeah.
it's I didn't I've sort of noticed it before, but when I was on the other side for the Ridgefield game this year, it's pretty bad. There are things you can do to have a home field advantage, taking the walk and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's one of those things everybody kind of does something with that, but having the speakers that loud is I got a personal problem with
Yeah.
anybody who goes out of their way to kind of make it uncomfortable for the fans.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, unfortunately, I'm not saying they do it on purpose, but it needs to be looked into.
Yeah, I know you want to have a good sound system there, and it's kind of natural to put it there. And I don't know, we must it must be a really slow week when we're talking about the sound systems at
Hey, we're also getting older, so maybe it's not that loud, but we just think it
I don't
is.
know. I'm told I'm going deaf because of the way I've listened to music all my life. So maybe
Yeah.
we're becoming grumpy old men here.
Yeah. My wife's
About
been telling me I've been going deaf for about 6 years now.
So, but it's, Staples is, Staples a top five team right now, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how these teams do. How New Canaan. We haven't really even talked about New Canaan much, and that New Canaan McMahon game on Friday has lost some of its luster.
Yeah, it has.
Unfortunately.
I think and I don't think they're going to, if somehow McMahon does pull this off, because the double L is so weak, they'll be right back in the mix of things. But I don't see McMahon going into New Canaan and getting the W.
Yeah, that'd be a really tough spot based on some of their recent results. And the team that's really interesting, that's going to be interesting that you alluded to in the intro is Darien New Canaan on Thanksgiving. Is that last year it was a playing game for Darien? Is it going to be a playing game again for them this year?
I think so. I think I mean, Darien has a game this weekend. We're pretty sure they're going to win that. They're going to beat Central.
They're going to be
But
cool.
yeah, I think they're going to have to win both to get in. I really do. Um,
Yeah, their schedule a lot, last week and this week doesn't really help them too much in
right,
terms of not getting bonus points, and it doesn't help them in terms of getting better as a team.
right,
You'd like to that playing these two games doesn't help them get ready for New Canaan.
correct. And it's one of the things. You don't show things, so I'm sure they're practicing things that they're not going to show this weekend. They've probably been practicing things a couple of weeks now that they're not going to show, saving it up. But again, at some point, you got to snap the ball against a competitive opponent to get yourself ready. But yeah, I think Darien has to go 2-0 to make the states.
Yeah, that very well may be the case, and I've considered Darien on the cusp state, a 6 or 7 win team. They would have. I'm not saying they wouldn't have. They would have had a very very tough time in North Haven if they
Listen,
actually played that game. I mean,
yeah,
North Haven's a possible top five team in the state right now.
yeah, I would say that Darien would have a very tough time against North Haven. And again, it's not a knock to on anybody, but they're having tough times with teams that are not at North Haven's level. So I think Darien would have a very tough time. I think that forfeit benefits them big time because not only did they
Yeah,
get the win, they're getting all these bonus points on top of it, which if they lose on Thanksgiving, they might have that slight chance to get in. But I still think they have to win both.
and they're really a team that needs a quality win too. So
Yeah.
the McMahon game is a good win, not a great win, a good win. But the loss to Wilton and the way it happened. Darien's a young team. It's not Darien this year. They're not a bad team. They're a good team. That's right on the cusp, and go out and beat your biggest rival. It was a close game last year, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
our pre-Thanksgiving talk. But
Yeah.
right now it's probably we're gonna probably have three teams in double L. We may only have one team in L if it depends. Ludlow's gonna have a tough jump to make, but if they beat Wilton, it's they could stick the landing. Darien's gonna have to beat New Canaan, so one, maybe two teams out of that. Wilton in double M. Actually, and they're gonna have the spotlight to themselves, but because they don't have a Thanksgiving game, the weekend after this one, Shelton and Wilton.
Yeah.
That's gonna
Yeah.
be that's gonna be a great game.
That's going to be a great game, and that's going to be a very well attended game. Shelton, I'm sure they travel very well. Wilton, obviously, their spot's going to be their stands are going to be packed, but then you have every single team that might play them because they're not playing on Thanksgiving. I don't know what day they're actually playing.
Friday night.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they're going to
Friday Night Lights. I mean, and that again is that you trade in a Thanksgiving rivalry game, and you got to play one of the top teams. And
yeah.
it's funny when people said, "Well, I didn't cover Wilton at all the past 4 weeks, the first 4 weeks, I'm sorry, of the season, and I'm going to end up probably covering five of their last six games."
Yeah.
And I almost had somebody I was close to having a writer, and if I did, I would have staffed the Wilton McMahon game.
Yeah.
Wilton's really having to prove it. It's been but just because some teams are not as good as they have been and others better, there's been a disparity this year in strength of schedules for FCIAC teams.
You could see that. You could definitely see that. Like proven point. Like Ludlow has two losses, and they're the 11th seed looking up. You know what I mean? So there's definitely the team names might not be the same, but there's still a disparity between the top teams this year and the bottom teams this year.
We're gonna also have to we're gonna also have to discuss probably, and this may be a multi-person podcast, but the alliance proposal for changing state football, and the story being what happens when non-football people make football decisions.
Yeah, you might need a one of those 5-second delays with the mute button every time I say a word I'm not supposed to.
We get Lou to
Yeah.
it was great because I was talking with Jeff Jacobs, and we said, we got to do something, and it was, should we talk to Lou, should we talk to several coaches, and I didn't know who was going to do the story first, so I text Lou 5 minutes before I had to leave to go cover the girls soccer FCIAC final, and or the semifinals. And I get Lou, and I just text him, and what do you want to talk to you for the story. 30 seconds later, he calls. It's like 30 seconds later, and he's already in a frenzy. And I couldn't get him off the phone. It was funny, and he started listing all the reasons he did in the story why it was a bad idea. And I said, okay, well, either Jeff Jacobs or no, and one more thing. And okay, and I'm saying, and no, one more thing. You could go talk to all the coaches in New York about what happens, if you're out of the race early. And finally, I said, Lou, I'm actually coming to New Canaan to cover a game. Come over, let's finish this. Come over to girls soccer, and we can talk about this a little bit more. But he was, Lou's, when you get something like that, and Lou cares about high school football. Lou cares about New Canaan football, but Lou cares about FCIAC football, and he cares about Connecticut football. But we should, and there are one or two things in the proposal that I don't mind, but there's just a lot of bad things in there, and Somebody I saw in the last couple of days who's pretty influential in state football said to me it's never going to pass.
Yeah, there's no way it could. It's just like you said it, non-football people making football decisions. If they do what they're supposed to, you're going to have 3-win teams in the state playoffs. You might really have that. You take a team.
72 teams in the playoffs. I mean, it's already watered down. How much
Yeah,
how much more water do until it sinks?
right. And then you take the teams that are out of the playoffs. Okay, we've had years here where okay, we're 5-4 going into the McMahon. We have something very excited to look forward to. The teams that have 2 wins, they have something to look forward to. Where if we play McMahon on Columbus Day,
I love who is it who told Lou, well, you'll still have 10,000 people there.
yeah,
Where are you going to find the 10,000?
yeah,
I,
yeah,
the thing with Thanksgiving football is I want it both ways. I want the season to start and end earlier, but I want to preserve Thanksgiving football.
yeah,
And I really would love to start it and end it earlier. We go too long, but there's really no way to do that. And I get for a lot of these schools, the money that you get is important to their athletic departments.
mm-hmm.
So and everybody plays their own Super Bowl. So I'm sort of torn between wanting both things, and I almost want both of them equally because we go way too late. We shouldn't be playing football in December in Connecticut, and football players who play other sports shouldn't be thrown right into their winter season.
Yeah. That's true. But like you said, there's no way to do that without getting rid of Thanksgiving football.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't have it both ways, but I don't know what this is with Connecticut. We love to give trophies away. Why don't we just give participation trophies? And
Yeah.
you play your first game, you get a trophy, and then let's get down to. I'm so tired of just not rewarding excellence and accepting mediocrity. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna go on a rant here. I don't think we're going to go this long with not that much to talk
Yeah.
about the way
Next week, this will be our main point of conversation.
Yeah, I'm gonna set up because Mitch Ross sent me some proposals, and Mitch is really Mitch really studies this carefully and puts a lot of thought into things together. So we're gonna get something up. And I know get Jeff Jacobs involved. So we'll figure out when to do it. If it's maybe it's a special podcast, but
yeah, because Mitch is going to be getting ready for his games coming up, and hopefully he's getting ready for a playoff game. But yeah, Mitch sent a proposal a while ago just within the FCIAC, and to me, it's spot on. Like it's something that's really should be looked at. And I'll let him talk about it more because it was his design, and I don't want to take anything away from his design. But somebody's got to look at it and be like, okay, let's at least talk about this. So,
all right, well, we're gonna take a break here, Sean. I'm gonna say goodbye to you and thank you again as always for joining me. And when we come back, Sil Vitiello and the members of the Trumbull boys soccer teams. All right, we'll be right back. Hi, we're back, and as promised, we're not all football today. We're football as well. I got a chance with the way the FCIAC had to rearrange the soccer schedule. I got to cover all 4 boys and girls semifinal and final matches. I've got to say, I've been doing this a long time. I don't remember a better week of soccer with some tremendous games, and the 2 finals in particular were classics. And joining me right now, we have the captains and the coach of the Trumbull boys soccer team, which really had to work and score goals this week to repeat as champions. Joining me, we have Coach Sil Vitiello, and we've got Owen Bull, Jack DiGiovanni, and Sean Tezriaio. And that's going to be the hardest part of the podcast for me. Hey guys, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How
How
are
are
you?
you?
Good, how are you?
Okay, you've had a few days
Doing
to
well, Dave.
digest this all. What are your thoughts on winning the title and more so even what it took for you guys to win the title because it wasn't easy.
I know for our whole team, it's a really exciting moment, but now we all know to kind of shift our focus to the state tournament, and now we're practicing and working on and looking forward to that.
Yeah, job's not
Yeah,
finished.
this year, the win was definitely sweeter compared to last year because of our streak that we had going last year. So this year felt a little bit better because we had to work for it a little bit with these close games in the playoffs. So uh, going back to back was very, very nice.
I mean, for you
Yeah,
guys,
the goal.
go ahead, Sal.
No, I was going to say the goal for us from the very beginning, and we didn't shy away from this in our preseason meetings, was just to have the chance to put ourselves in the same position we were in last year. We knew we had the team to do it. It was just a matter of going out and navigating our way through the regular season, even though that may not have gone exactly the way we wanted. But we're here. So, as I say to the boys, that check box or that check is in that box. And so now we just move on and see if we can learn from the experience in last year's tournament.
Why don't we talk about this week and maybe backtrack a little bit to the regular season? But first of all, semifinals. You guys this week refuted anybody who says soccer is a boring sport. I dare anybody to watch both those matches and tell me that they're bored. Now, first game, sometimes teams are a little tentative in the semifinals, and you and Greenwich play a 5-4 wild shootout. And you guys had to score 2 goals to come back and win an up and down tournament. What was that like, and how's it different playing in a high scoring game like that as compared to a defensive battle?
I mean, with the high scoring, it's a lot of emotional ups and downs for everyone. Scoring goals and like getting the lead to start off was great. Everyone was loving it. And then when we fell down, they came back. That was a hard moment for everyone, but I feel like that showed our true heart that we have in our team. And everyone kind of used each other to build back up, and then we ended up with the victory.
Yeah, and I think in those high scoring games, it's whoever's gonna back down first. And I know everyone in our team refused to back down, and that's how we came out with the W in that game.
Yeah, and it's happened to us multiple times throughout the regular season as well, of us losing a lead and letting the team come back. So it's all about setting the right mindset and coming back stronger for the next half. So
What was odd to me was we played 2 games against Greenwich that followed essentially the same pattern. It wasn't as often the first time, but they went up early and we answered, and they came back at the end. This for the semifinal, they went up early, we answered, they answered, and we answered again. It was just one of these things that's unusual between the two of us because we are so accustomed to playing these close games. But we've battled back a lot this year. We've fallen behind a couple of times, and it just seems like whenever that happens, we answer. And I think it does illustrate how much character our team does have. I also think the rivalry between our two schools, specifically now, tends to bring out the worst and the best of both teams because I'm sure Kurt Putnam is sitting there scratching his head, wondering how he conceded 5 times because both of us are generally pretty solid defensively. It was one of those games. I'm thrilled to be on the winning end of it, though.
Yeah, I mean it was just wild. I mean the one good thing about your team is you've got. I mean you're strong all over the field, but you've got a lot of offensive punch. So you guys, if you get into one of those games, you're basically equipped to play any kind of game because as we'll talk about, the start of the final was an entirely different game. But you guys are equipped and have some real good goal scorers. Does that make it easier when you get in this game and not to lose confidence, just knowing, okay, well, they score, we're just going to regroup and we'll get it back?
So, I mean, for us, we have so many options out there, so many kids who could create chances for themselves. And I know a couple of times this year we fell down, and then the kid, Mateus Almeida, he's came back. He's he's got a lot of heart out there, and he's got a lot of big goals for us. And Mateus, we have Stefan, we got a lot of guys out there who scoring goals, and that kind of helps build the team back up because if someone's falling down, someone's always there to back them up, and we've always got a lot of chances there.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely for me and Sean, it makes our job easier to keep confidence and just win the ball and get it to our forwards. And we have all the confidence in the world in them. If it's not Owen, it's going to be Mateus. If it's not going to be Mateus, it's going to be Stefan.
Yeah, it's really hard to lose faith during these games because of how much talent we have up forward, and even off the bench, the players coming off the bench set the tone. So it's really hard to lose faith. So
Okay, now you go to the final, and I'd say for the first 50 minutes, it wasn't boring, but it was a chess match. Scott Erickson and I from Scott from Game Time and I were talking. So it wasn't bad soccer, but there were few opportunities on either side. It was a lot of middle of the field, and it was kind of feeling each other out. And then I thought, for about 20 minutes, you guys started to press the attack and had opportunities, but you weren't able to score. And so we're 70 minutes in, and it's still scoreless. And I don't think anybody would have bet that by the end of the night it was going to be 5 goals scored. But first of all, Marcus gets that. Mateus, I'm sorry, gets that goal for you. You go up 1-0 with 9 minutes to go. You're not saying we've won it, but you've got to be in a pretty confident place. First of all, when you get that first goal and it's that late in the game, what are you guys going through?
I mean, I know as soon as Mateus scored, I thought that would have been it because I know Stanford hadn't created much chances until then. But then after that goal, they showed what team they were. They had a lot of chances and they came back strong. But I know in the moment when he first scored, it felt as if, all right, this is it, we've won. But of course, that was not the case at first.
Yeah, and it happens. We saw it early in the year when we played Greenwich in the regular season. It doesn't matter how much time is left in the game. There's always an opportunity for every team. It's not like football or any other sport. It just takes 10 seconds of luck for a team to equalize or put them ahead. And we saw it. They did there.
Yeah, it's really unpredictable with these teams, especially Stanford. They had a kid that could really make some long throw-ins, so it was just like a set piece, especially towards the end of the game. It was keeping us at the edge of our seats. So we had to just tell everybody lock in and keep everybody focused until the end. But that was pretty much it.
Yeah, as a coach, it's difficult because the conditions of each of the last 2 games changed with the wind. You're trying to get the right players out on the field. We put different combinations of players out there depending on how the game is going, and you blink and okay, well, now we got to change course again. But credit to the boys. Owen, who's a pretty quiet kid generally when it comes to team huddles and things like that, stepped in and gave the team a talk. And here he is a minute and a half later, and he nets the go-ahead goal. And that's the kind of leadership that we have. All three captains in here have been tremendous all season long and leading the team. And the character of the team shining through again. In the OT, and they got this crazy second goal, which I still can't believe how that happened. But the ball found the kid, and he didn't make any mistakes with it, and so we had to grind it out and find a way to kill the game in the end there.
Yeah, and we'll get to Owen's go-ahead goal, but you're up now 1-0 again. They hadn't even had a shot on goal, and a minute 20 to go. And to Stanford's credit, I mean, this was a really good Stanford team, a lot of heart, and they were playing without their most dangerous scorer, who had scored the winning goal in the semifinals because of the accumulation of yellow cards. So they were shorthanded too. And then they get a goal on a beautiful header with a minute 20 to go. Now, what's it like? Oh man, we're this close to victory, and now we're most likely going to overtime.
I mean, I knew for me, as right as I soon saw that ball across the line, I knew, all right, we gotta move forward. Like, we can't dwell on what happened. And so we kind of took that minute. We didn't think anything was going to happen in that time. So we focused right as the game ended, went into the huddle, and we knew we had to work hard. So, but for us, we have leadership all over our team. We have kids who aren't getting the game much, and they're out there giving everything they have on the bench there, trying to get everyone ready for the game, and that motivation from kids on the whole team is really what helped give us energy and help go back and get our heads back up and go into the overtime and show what we got.
And again, our we have confidence no matter where the game goes. Going back to what Sean said, we've been in that position before where a team comes back and equalizes. And we didn't panic. We kept playing our game, and that's how we came out with the win.
Yeah, especially at the end of the second half, there was a lot of unnecessary fouls. I think it was just a mix of emotions and nerves. So I think at the end, it was really a turning point, especially going into overtime. We just had to recollect ourselves and reinsure our position to win the game.
Now you
Yeah, as Sean was alluding, and I was saying, as Sean was alluding to, it wasn't a feeling. It had just happened to us in the semifinal. And the message at halftime of that game was, it's a 40-minute game and it's 0-0. And so really it's no different, except this time it's a 20-minute game and it's tied. And so you win the 20 minutes and you win the game. And so that's the mentality you have to have. And we didn't waver. We came out and I thought we did take control of the game for much of the overtime, or at least the first overtime anyway.
Okay, now early and I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this after the game the other night, but you get a set piece early on, and it's a classic. One of the best goal scorers in the state, one of the best keepers in the state, and you can't put a ball, and you decided rather than go far post, short post, and you put the ball just perfectly where Viti couldn't get it. First of all, because I know I talked to Sil after the game, and he thought maybe they scouted you on one or two goals you scored far post. What made you go short post? And when you hit it, is it like a golfer? Yeah, I got this.
I mean, as soon as the ref blew the whistle for the foul, I knew I was taking it. I knew I was shooting it, and I know Jack Carlos. He got the ball. He told me to bang it, so I got it and stepped up there, and I saw he was a little further to the right because maybe he knew that I put my last free kick on the right side. So I was like, all right, if I could get it up and over, then it should have a good chance of going in. And it did. So yeah.
Did you go short post for any particular reason, or just something?
When I'm practicing free kicks on my own, I'm normally going to that front post, and unless the keeper's closer in the middle, then I'd go far post. But here I saw that the kid Viti was far onto the other side of the post, so I was like, all right, this is a chance where if I hit it to the front post, it's got a good chance of going in.
Okay, then Jack comes by.
Yeah, we noticed.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we noticed Christian Viti was a little further than we thought. And I mentioned my assistant, if he gets this up and over, it's going in, because there was no question that he was anticipating the far post there. So it was good. It was well executed.
Yeah, it's my plug for my photographer. He didn't get you shooting the ball, but he got a perfect shot of Viti trying to, Viti's not a short guy. He fully extended, and he couldn't reach the ball. It was so perfectly placed. So now Jack quickly makes it 3-1. I'm thinking this a little bit. I don't know if you are. Okay, fine. We're not going to be going to penalties. This game's probably over right now. What's the mood at 3-1?
I mean, it's just joy. We worked so hard all season on these set pieces, these corners, and we hadn't been very successful with them in the regular season. And then when it mattered most, Dylan plays a great ball in the back post, and if I didn't finish it, Sean was right there next to me to finish it, and it was great. We finished it off, and it couldn't have come at a better time.
I know.
Go ahead.
No, so I know for us, we've gotten a lot of, like, the guy scored in the normal time with a minute left, so we knew we couldn't end there. And like one of our keepers, Andrew Ross, he always says it's never over till it's over. So I know we still had to keep going. We still had more time on the clock, and we had to keep going.
To Stanford's credit, a team that wouldn't quit. They come back and score again, and now it's 3-2 all of a sudden. You know, that 0-0 game not too long ago now is 3-2. It is the feeling, you know, what do we got to do to put these guys away finally?
Just grind. Just, you know, close space down, limit their opportunities on their free kicks, try to keep the ball from them as much as we possibly can. And then at that point, it's almost as though tactics go out the window and you're just trying to just be the first to the ball. They're trying to be the first to the ball. And the game changes when you get into that moment. You almost invite the pressure. It seems like the team that's ahead. But we did an excellent job of keeping them off Connor. He was our goalkeeper. And when Connor was needed, he stepped up and he made a couple of saves too. So that's what we wanted to do in regulation, but it took us a long time, but we were able to do it in overtime.
And that's a perfect word to describe our team. Is just grit. They put that second goal in. We're still up. My midfielders, Jack Carlos, Kyle Keegan, Owen drops in. We all look at each other. We say it's time to lock it down, and we did. We got every ball out of there, and we won the game.
Yep, and I was talking to the back line also before the game, and a couple times during our semifinal game, we got caught up, like out of position. So I try to re-emphasize that throughout the game, make sure that we were all supporting each other. And it really mattered at the end of the game when we were up 3-2 to just focus on who's stepping, who's covering. So it really closed out the game when we all just communicated with each other and closed it out.
Got to be a lot of pride. I've covered the program closely for many years. It's not easy to win one championship. It's even harder to win two. And you guys have done it, 5 times now in the last decade. Is there just something special about being a member of the Trumbull boys soccer team and just a tradition that you feel obligated to, you've got to live up to a certain level?
I feel like a lot of it is the culture too, because a lot of our team, we played together growing up, and we had watched the older teams win their championships, and we knew that's what we wanted to do when we grew up and when we were on the field. So, I mean, a lot of it is that our culture, we're family together, and everyone's very close, everyone's very connected, and that helps us out in the field too. So we're all together constantly, everyone's friends, and also growing up, we've had that aspirations of these championships and seeing the guys before us do it, and now we're the ones doing it too. So that's a great feeling.
Yeah, and just to build off that, me, Owen, Sean, we were both pretty involved with last year's team, but it's more doing it for ourselves as seniors than dwelling on what we did last year. And what Owen said, we've been playing with each other for so long. We want to do it for each other, and that's the big thing that brought us to the championship.
Yeah, I remember being in 8th grade watching the FCIAC championship, and I don't really feel the pressure to live up to the expectations of Trumbull always winning, but that game definitely inspired a lot of us watching to carry it on and do it ourselves too, because it's a lot better when you get the championship for yourself instead of watching. So, yeah.
This may be coming out after your first round game, but States, you've got a tough road. There's no easy roads in Connecticut soccer, but you've got a tough one. You got to play Fairfield Ward. It's always tough to play a league team again, especially one that's going to be an underdog. And it's really, I know teams hate playing teams from their own league until you have to, because it doesn't feel like a state tournament. But then if you get past that, you got to play Glastonbury, which are a great team. That's a hard second round game, and a team you lost to during the regular season by a goal. What are your thoughts on your draw? And I'm sure you have memories of a year ago winning the championship and losing to a Greenwich team in the second round that got hot and ended up making a run to the state title.
I mean, I know we're going to have a hard road, and that's just what it is at the end of the day. But I know from last year we could use that kind of to help us, because we knew that we came in very slow in the state tournament last year, and we know not to do that again this year. We know exactly what happens, and we know what to change on it.
You know, we just have to flip the switch. What's in the past is in the past. We won the championship, and now it's time for states. And I remember a few days ago we came into coach's room in school, and we watched the video of Greenwich celebrating on our home field last year. And I think being a part of that last year and remembering it and being able to use that is going to be really important for us to just flip the switch and go get another trophy this season.
Yeah, last year we definitely lost a lot of steam after the FCIAC championship. And I feel like this year we know what we have to do, and carrying it on through the practice and the beginnings of all these state games, that we just have to emphasize intensity and effort throughout everybody so that we do not repeat what happened last year.
It's hard for teams when you win a championship and then you still got to play more games, because on one hand you kind of feel like, okay, the job's done, we accomplished it, but you've only accomplished part of what you want to do. And I think for teams that win the title, you need to get past that first or second win, and then you've distanced yourself a little bit from the championship and you're kind of more on even ground. But that first game in particular, it can be a tricky game. And Ward kind of tailed off after a hot start, but a dangerous team as well. So it's difficult to have to turn it on, and just that feeling of and so you've been on the sideline for so many of these championships, to win something and then have to get everybody motivated again, not to let them feel like we accomplished something that's done.
Well, it's hard. It's a hard thing to transition from one to the next. But I think having had the experience last year, it's funny because in 2018 when we won, we came out flat against Hamden and then went up to Glastonbury and lost in round 2. In 2019, we're back. We repeated and made a semifinal run. So I'm hoping that kind of the same thing happens. And as far as playing an FCIAC team, you can complain about it for a second. At the end of the day, they're still going to be there. So we have to just prepare and be ready to play and be ready for anything. But yeah, going back to our preseason meeting, the idea of us, or the challenge that we posed to ourselves to be in the same exact position that we were, was with the intention of being the first team in the conference to win an outright championship and then win a state championship. I think the last time it happened was 2009. So, and doing something we've never done in the school's history, which is to win a state championship. And these guys want to leave a legacy, and being that first team to win one, even if we were to win the next 10, they're still the first team. So we talk about this, and the goals are lofty, but we're not gonna back away from challenging ourselves either.
All right, well, guys, thanks for giving us an incredible week of soccer, and congratulations, because as I said in the intro, you guys truly had to earn this one. And good luck going forward. It's not going to be easy, but you guys certainly have the personnel to make a run and maybe get that second crown. So good luck congratulations on part 1, and good luck on part 2.
Thank you.
And that's the Ruden Report podcast for this week. Again, want to thank my guests, the members of the Trumbull boys soccer team, Sean Ireland. I want to thank Cooper Boardman for the sound editing. We had a lot to talk about this week, and we will have a lot to talk about next as well. So have a good week, and we'll see you soon.